Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Pensacola, Florida, you're listening to Core Dialogues Radio, presented by ID Group, where thought-provoking conversation and thought leaders meet on air. Every Thursday at 4 p.m., we hit the airwaves with forward-thinking ideas, philosophies, and questions, connecting our listeners to ideas that will get you thinking. The answers are in our studio. Now, here's your host and whole systems branding expert, Dr. Mona.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Core Dialogues Radio. We're streaming live from the Business X Radio studios here in beautiful downtown Pensacola. And I am your host, Mona Amadeo. Every Thursday at 4 o'clock Central, you can connect with us at Core Dialogues, that's with an S, at businessradiox.com. And this is where we gather each week to connect you with some really amazing people and ideas that we hope will inspire you, challenge you, and even motivate you to do some of the things you've been thinking about, or maybe even give you some ideas you haven't even thought about. But, basically we're here because of this. We believe organizations and the people in them have amazing power to create positive impact on the world. And I think you'll see if you go back and listen to the people we've talked with, our guests are those kind of people. They're the people who are really using their talents to make things happen. These aren't just talkers, these are doers. And today we're talking to someone who is a doer. Her name is Julie Shepard. And I want to tell you, I think Julie works in one of the coolest places in the world because she gets to share office space with robots. And it's really, really cool. I think, when you go over to IHMC, which is where Julie works, it's like one of those places you walk into and you look around and you go, wow, I'm not sure what's going on, but it's cool here. So it's a really, really, really neat place. Let me tell you a little bit about Julie. First of all, she's a mom and a wife and an amazing philanthropist here in our community. And I think I count her among one of our top community leaders because, again, she's not one of these people that sit around and talk about what's not working or what can't work. She knows how to roll her sleeves up and really get and make things happen. And so maybe we'll bring her back and talk about all that one day. But today, she's here really as one of a member of the senior leadership team at the Institute for Human and Machine Cognition. There's a reason that they call it IHMC, right? It's a lot, a word mouth, not a word mouth, maybe a mouthful of words. Yes, that would be good. So a little bit about IHMC. It is a not-for-profit research institute that is part of the Florida university system, and it's affiliated with several universities, including the one here at the University of West Florida. And the researchers at IHMC are doing some just amazing things, and they're true innovators in that they are coming up with technologies that are really aimed at leveraging and extending human capacities, and just doing some amazing things that are advancing the way we live, the way we work, the way we're overcoming some of the challenges that people have and that maybe even communities have. IHMC, just a little bit, it has two campuses, one here in Pensacola, Florida, the other is in Ocala. And even though we consider them part of our local world, they really have global impact. A lot of their clients include NASA, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Raytheon, Lockheed. They've done some work with IDEO, which is one of my aspirational people. Just to watch those guys work is amazing. So, Julie, I just want to say welcome, and thank you for being a part of this. And I think I'd really love to just start with you telling me how did IHMC end up in Pensacola, Florida? Because oftentimes you think of these kind of places and you think in terms of California, or you think of it mainly West Coast. Certainly, or MIT, so how did IHMC end up in Pensacola and then later Ocala?
Well, first, Mona, thanks for having me. It's fun to be here.
Yes.
So IHMC was started by two faculty that were kind of pushing the limits at the time back in the 80s. They were at the University of West Florida, and they were really trying to do interdisciplinary research. And anyone familiar with universities know that they tend to be more siloed than that. So it's hard to get the business people to talk to the medical school, to talk to the computer science people. And so what they tried to do was build an interdisciplinary team. And IHMC grew out of that interdisciplinary team at the University of West Florida.
And so I know Ken Ford was one of those people.
Yes,
right?
and Alberto Conyers.
Yeah. And so when they were doing that, Julie, what were they doing? Where did they come from? How did they even end up here? I mean, who is Ken Ford? And I don't know Alberto. I do know Ken, but where did they come from and how did they get to UWF?
So both Ken and Alberto met at Tulane, where they were getting their doctorate degrees. Ken had had been with the Navy, so he had been in Pensacola.
I didn't even know that.
And at the time, UWF had a really unique program. It was kind of an elite program for people that were coming through the flight program in Pensacola. And so they were affiliated with that program at the University of West Florida and on faculty.
And how long did they stay? I know it was part of the university, and then it later kind of spun off as, interesting. We had Rick Duke here 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we talked about this idea of intrapreneurship, where basically innovative ideas happen, and sometimes those spin off to some independent things that end up doing even greater things that sometimes a university can house. So it sounds like that's part of what happened with IHMC.
Yes, both Ken and Alberto were faculty, and they we had a legislator that had some extra money and said, hey, send me some research proposals.
Yeah.
And one of the research proposals that the president at that time, Morris Marks, sent was IHMC's start. And it was funded. It was the one selected. It was funded, and the institute grew at the university. I came to UWF in the mid-'90s as their first in-house attorney. And at that time, IHMC had 20 or 30 people, and it continued to grow, and it just kept multiplying.
I remember, Julie, I was teaching there when IHMC first, I think the idea was born, and it's sort of bigger than 10 or 15 people today, right?
Yes, right now we probably have about 120.
Amazing. And so started here, grew, kind of was birthed here, but then is now also in Ocala. What's going on down there, and how are the campuses similar? Do they have different research focuses, or are they similar?
So what happened is we grew so big at UWF, and there was a real desire to be downtown. Mm-hmm. So IHMC relocated downtown Pensacola to kind of be part of that creative thinking crowd downtown back in the late 90s. Yeah. And then went independent in 2004 and became its own entity. You'll recall in 2004, we had the hurricane.
Yeah.
And what makes us, I think, unique is that we are really good at reaching out and bringing creative, interdisciplinary people, dynamiting them out of, I think, Austin and Boston and San Francisco and bringing them to Pensacola. That got a little harder after Ivan. Yeah. And so we decided that, and then Katrina followed.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people
a
lot of people on the West Coast were like, you want me to move where? So we thought, well, it would be nice to have a location that was a little bit isolated from the water. And Ocala fit the bill for that. And also Ocala was unique in that it was very close to 3 of the Research One universities in Florida that we worked with, the University of Florida, the University of Central Florida in Orlando, and the University of South Florida in Tampa. Mm-hmm. We were also affiliated with FIT in Melbourne. And so it was a nice little triangle where you could branch out and have an hour drive to really basically 4 universities that were our partners.
Yeah, amazing growth that's happened. And Julie, one of the things I looked at as I was thinking about talking with you today is really the kind of organization that you guys have had to create, the culture of that organization in order to attract, because, there's just these aren't just average people who work with you and with IHMC. So tell me a little bit about the culture that you've been able, and your team there at IHMC has been able to cultivate that can attract this level of really world-class talent to these areas.
I think our success has a lot to do with our culture. We try to eliminate as much bureaucracy as possible for the employee. We don't have middle management. We basically recruit people who are very confident in what they do and are entrepreneurial, and we don't have tuition and we don't teach. So we basically want to hire people that want to go out and propose and do great things and aren't afraid to just go out and get funding to do what they want. And when we get those people, we allow them to build their own teams. We give them the tools they need. We give them the space they need. And we support them so that they can really concentrate their intellectual pursuits into cutting edge research in their areas.
Was that like a model? Did the founders of all this look around and go, what do we have to do? Or did it kind of organically grow and say, this is just, became that? Or was it intentional or was it organic?
Well, I think anybody knows being at a university, there's a lot of bureaucracy. So there's a lot of departments you have to go through to file a proposal and things like that. So coming out of a university setting, I think the idea was let's eliminate as much of that as possible. But the other thing is that computer science was really developing strongly about the time that IHMC was growing. The laptop was becoming
to believe
popular.
How fast
the
all
cell
happened.
phone.
Yeah.
And so it interdisciplinary activity was really just starting to be talked about. Mm-hmm. So IHMC was lucky, I think, that it hit on all those metrics at one time with the technology, the advances in communication, and then the rise of kind of the how do you solve a problem. And I think what makes us unique is we team people based on bringing in, a cognitive psychologist with an engineer, with a computer scientist, with a medical doctor. So that when you are looking at it, how do you help a human overcome a situation, or how do you give a special forces person enhanced technology? You're looking at from a real holistic view and not from, and nothing against engineers, but none of us read the manual for the DVD player. And so, what we wanted to do was develop technology that would be useful.
Sure. And that's really what you do. And it's hard. Like I said, when you go on IHMC's website, it's almost overwhelming because you guys are doing, it's research, but it's research that will, with the intention of application. So tell me just a couple of things that maybe you're most proud of, or some of the advances you guys have that's come out of IHMC, or that you're in the process of doing. But I think what's really so amazing is we talk a lot about applied research, but you guys are doing both, I guess, theoretical and applied, because you're advancing theory and you're doing application. So it's just like I said, an amazing organization.
Yeah, we work in that space, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3. Yeah. The most we would probably do is a prototype, and then we would license it to a company to do that. But, our success, most everybody knows us for our work in robotics.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah, we have some really excellent people in the field of walking or legged robotics. And we partner well. We stay small, and we are a good partner because we like to work in our niche, but we know that we need to partner with people that are working in a bigger area. But I don't think we're threatening because we have our little area.
You have your expertise.
But so robotics is obviously something people know us for. We came in second in the International DARPA Robotics Challenge in June 2015. We've had some incredible publicity. We've been on the cover of Time magazine. This past July, we were just in Scientific America. And we have been invited with our exoskeletons for paraplegics. We've been invited to Zurich in this October to compete in the Special Olympics over there.
Wow.
So we're really excited about that as well. But that's just a real small part of what IHMC does. Yeah. We have a lot
But it's so sexy.
Yeah, it is. It shows well.
It shows well.
But, we do a lot of work in software agent technology. We have some really neat patents in cybersecurity. We do a lot of work in natural language understanding, data mining, distributed computing systems. The list goes on.
That's what I mean. When you go on the website and you read all of this, you go, do they have like thousands of people over there doing this? Because it's very broad, which must be very attractive to some of these people who are working with you, even though their expertise might be in one area. To be surrounded in a culture like you're describing with people who are working all these different cool things must be amazing. And
I think one of the things we've done very well is that we try to stay small. We think like the 125
what a lot of the research says too.
Is about right. And then what we try to do is we have these afternoon science lectures where we ask our researchers to talk about what they're doing, and we invite everybody to come. And, we usually have food, so everybody has a reason to come. And then it's amazing how people connect, even though they're in different fields at IHMC. When somebody describes what they're working on, the hands go up from all the people that aren't even in that field to say, well, have you thought about doing that?
Yeah.
Or what would be, could it enhance it if we were able to add this piece to it? And I'm a lawyer. To see that dynamic take place, it's really creative, and it's what we're very good at.
Yeah. And I think one of the things you've shared with me before is you're also bringing in a lot of interns from around the world, literally, right, to work with you guys. What a great opportunity that is, not only for you to kind of, and the people who work with you to kind of bring in that fresh blood and that fresh energy, but then, of course, for them to work at such a level with such a cool place.
We do. We are about 40% international, and a lot of that comes from the fact that in some of the disciplines we're working in, some of the best research universities are housed somewhere else. So we're doing a lot of work bringing in people from Delft in the Netherlands. We have a lot of Italians. We have a lot of French. We often get people who want to come and intern at IHMC when they're in a master's level program. And then they'll usually stay in the United States and look for a PhD program.
Sure.
Or we will even send people back to an international PhD program, kind of a grow your own. If they're a good fit for us, we'll do that. We've done that.
As you're talking, you're not grow your own. One of the things that I've forgotten to write on some of my questions here, but I wanted to, that just spurred something with me. Have you guys commercialized anything? Like, has anyone who's worked with you come up with ideas, patented something, and you've been part of a commercialization process to to spin off businesses or anything like that? Is that part of what you're seeing happen or not?
Yes. So we, about 2 years ago, we had developed it's an interesting story. We were working for DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, on a robot that could run about 35 miles an hour. It was built on an ostrich frame. It was very big.
That is so cool.
And we bought this, this treadmill for Arabian horses that they work out on. And we were running it was called Fast Runner, the project. And what was happening is when it got up speeds over 25 miles an hour, the legs weren't coming around quick enough. So one of our young French scientists and some of the people said, well, what if we added another leg? And they actually ended up building a much smaller version of it. And then the scientist, Sebastian Cotton, said, I'd really like to take this and license it in entertainment and build a company here in Pensacola. And so we keep the military applications, and we gave Sebastian a license for entertainment. And he actually has a deal with a toy company and has 5 engineers working for him.
Is that cool?
So that's one example.
Yeah.
But often the type of people we hire, they want to go on and work on the next research project.
Yeah.
So we have licensed a lot of technology to companies. As Pensacola and Ocala develop with more entrepreneurial technical companies, we hope to do more of those at home. Florida recently started the Institute for the Commercialization of Public Research, and they will provide seed funding to technology companies that are developing a product with technology that comes from a state university or research institute.
Wow.
So Pensacola.
Great opportunity for,
We have done that for IRIS, which is a retinal imaging system, for Robotics Unlimited, which is Sebastian's company. We've done it for DigiPro, which is just happening now. There's a couple companies in Gainesville that we've done that for, in Gainesville, Ocala. And so I'm really proud to say that, by virtue of licensing our technology to some of these companies, it's really helped them to get into the venture capital forum and to get some angel investors and things like that. So we're proud.
And so, that's oftentimes you think of research and we think of pointy head people sitting around, doing stuff that, maybe advances their field, 3 sentences on a paper. But really the kind of work you guys are doing are making huge contributions to people's lives, both in like you said, the defense area. And I was reading something about the wounded Warriors project stuff that you're working in, and then
traumatic brain injury, and
just
PTSD.
amazing work. And then to be able to take certain things you're doing and impact, and then being kind of a connector, if you will, to money for entrepreneurs who are trying to advance technology and technology companies. Man, that's just a great contribution IHMC is making. I'm not sure they ever thought that big when it was first started at university. Kind of an organic process.
Yeah, it is organic. And I think the timing has been right for small businesses. There's been more of an emphasis on growing small businesses and small communities. Yeah. And I think Pensacola is doing well.
Yeah, and before we went on the air, I was telling Julie when we were talking about the impact of IHMC on this community, I think it's such a, it's raised the profile of the kind of community this is. So we're not just surf and sand, although we have beautiful surf and sand, but to have this level of work that's being done with these amazing people. And then the cool thing you guys do is bringing all these people here from all around the world to experience us. Is I don't know if they live here or they decide to go back, or if they try to say, but at least we've exposed the world to us.
Well, I would say one of the big questions we get asked all the time is, why are you in Pensacola?
Yeah, that's a great...
And, Pensacola actually...
It's a great place, that's why.
It is a great place. And, if you're in a big city and you're sitting in a car commuting and you have a really bad winter and, you come down to Pensacola and you come to a meeting at IHMC for, a project that you're working on, and, you walk around downtown. We have bikes for all our employees to take out so they don't have to get in a car and drive. You go over the beach and have dinner at the Grand Marlin. You go to the opera, or, you go sailing out in Pensacola Bay. It's a hard lifestyle to go back to, 3 feet of snow and, putting on your galoshes and stuff. So we do well with that. We do well recruiting young people, and we do well recruiting empty nesters.
Yeah, and I would think, Julie, too, that would be part when you were talking about culture. It's the culture of your organization, but then within this culture of kind of a laid-back, easygoing place has got to suit that creative energy well, too. So I think that it makes sense to me why you're here, and why people want to be here.
Yeah, it's a great place, and Pensacola has been a good home for IHMC.
So before we close up here, I do want you to talk just briefly with me about, while you're kind of birthing and building and your employees, you guys are doing a lot of work with the next generation. I know the Science Saturdays that you do and the robotics camp, really trying to look at that next generation of thinker. Talk to me a little bit about what you guys are doing there, and maybe even tell us a little, if anybody's interested, kids interested, parents interested, how would they find you, and how would they find out how to get involved with that?
Sure. Well, our website is just ihmc.us, as in the United States. And we have an outreach section. Mm-hmm. And in that outreach section on the top of the website, you will find evening lectures, science
Which
Saturdays,
are, by the way, wonderful. So that's another piece of great thing you do for the community.
Robotics camp. But IHMC's philosophy is that science is very cool, and young people need to know science is cool at young ages. Mm-hmm. So about 16 years ago, we started Science Saturdays, where on a Saturday morning, we'll do an activity with a young scientist and open it to children in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade before they kind of get into middle school and it's not cool anymore to do things. And we do things like bottle rockets and lemon batteries and
I'm gonna come play.
Jello lenses and roller coasters. And the idea is not that we're going to make you a little scientist. The idea is that you're going to do something. You're going to say, this is cool. And you're going to go tell your friends, and maybe you're going to recreate it at home to show your family. And you're going to continue to do well in science and math, because math is a lot of what we do. Mm-hmm. And you're going to look at it like, well, I know why I'm doing this. Yeah. And you don't get a lot of science in elementary school, because I think there's a sense that the teachers maybe haven't had a lot of science or aren't that comfortable with the technology changing so quickly. Yeah. So we seed that program. And then what we realized is, okay, we've got all these 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that go on. And so we've got to have other programs. So we started a robotics camp for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And then we do a kind of like a Tech Connect program for high school kids, that they can come in the summer and spend half a day working with IHMC researchers and then half a day doing a community project. Mm-hmm. So one year they taught programming at the Fricker Center to summer kids at the Fricker Center, which is a summer program for low-income youth in our community. And so we do that one. And then we also have a tremendous amount of interns that come back to us from high school, college, and graduate school to intern with us in the summer. And this summer, I know I'm just finished doing the newsletter, and we had about 30.
Wow.
And a lot of those, you will see that they're at Georgia Tech, or they're at MIT, or they're at Michigan. But their roots are really from Northwest Florida, and that's how they know about us. And we start getting resumes in like the fall and around Christmas. We, can we come here this next summer and work with you? And some are paid and some are unpaid, and we put them on real projects. And it's a great experience.
Yeah, great opportunity. Well, Julie, our time is up, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. It's always fun to talk with you.
Yes.
And IHMC, I think, is a symbol and a sign here in Pensacola of the way we're thinking about our community and what our greatest hopes are, I think, for our future. So you're making a difference in our community, but obviously through the work you guys are doing and the impact you're having around the world. So we appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Mona.
Thank you. So that really closes out for today. Again, thank you for joining us today. We're here every Thursday at 4:00, and again at Core Radio. I always get this wrong, so let me try it again. Core Dialogues at businessradiox.com is where you can find us. You can also listen to all of the shows that we've done over the last several weeks at coredialoguesradio.com. Everything is archived there, so you can go back and listen to the wisdom and the inspiration of all these great guests that we have. So thank you. We'll see you next week at Core Dialogues Radio.